Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our Bon Secours Mercy Health educational video series. My name is Justin Seligman. I'm an athletic trainer with Bon Secours. I'm going to be taking you through common weightlifting mistakes that I see a lot of middle schoolers and high schoolers make, and also people just in the gym in general. This is the lower body lifts video, so we're going to cover squats, deadlifts, and lunges today. But this is really for anyone, not just athletes, not just students, but anyone who is interested in lifting, who wants to start lifting, wants to get better at lifting, whether it's parents, coaches, students, doesn't matter. So it's really for everybody. So that's what we're going to cover today. A few resources to touch on before we start. And then, of course, the squat, deadlift, and lunge. So before you watch this video, it's really good to go back and check out the common upper body lifting mistakes video that I made. The reason for that is that it starts off with some general guidelines for lifting that are really good for safe lifting, and also reasons to lift. If you aren't already lifting, if you're watching this video and you're kind of curious, you definitely need to start. And there's some reasons in that video, so go back to watch that one first, and then check this one out. And then an easy way to get started working out is joining our sports performance workouts every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on the same website. Colin and a couple of other athletic trainers putting together these workouts. So it's an easy way to get, from sitting on the couch to doing something. Again, not just for students, but for anyone who wants to get involved with that. So we're going to start with the squat. This is really the most common lower body, or should be the most common lower body exercise you see in the gym. But a lot of people do it wrong. And we typically only see at the high school level, mostly just football players doing it, but really all these exercises are good for any athlete, it doesn't matter. Building strength is good for all athletes. So coaches, if you're watching this, get your athletes into the gym, to the weight room, especially now that schools are opening up again for indoor practices. So this is the proper squat right here. We're going to cover just the standard squat. There's all kinds of different variations. So this is the barbell squat, barbell back squat. So there's the high bar squat, low bar, front squat, goblet squat. There's all kinds of split squats. So we're just going to go with the standard one. The same kind of mistakes happen across the board. So we're going to cover some tips that should help you squat a little bit better and definitely more safely. So of course, if you're squatting heavy weight, 1 to 3 reps, trying to get the most weight out of your lift, always use a spotter. Never try to do it on your own. Go look up YouTube fail videos on squats and you'll get a good idea why that's the case. Fortunately, we don't have time for that. But today, we want to make sure that your back and shoulders are in a good position, that your knees are in a good position, and your head is in a good position. So the first thing you want to do as you get underneath the bar in the squat rack is to pinch those shoulder blades back together. So your back, so it creates a nice stable upper back shelf. You don't want the bar resting up here too high. I often see that in some high schoolers. They rest it too high on their shoulders, but it really should be resting back down closer to your shoulder blades. So pinch those blades together. That'll help keep your back nice and stable, and that'll allow you to get your shoulders back, your arms back even further to grip the bar. Otherwise, you're trying to do this and you're cranking on those shoulders, and you're just going to end up hurting your shoulders. Along with the shoulder blades back, you want to keep the chest out, back flat. Keep the back nice and straight, just like this guy here in the picture. Keep it straight the whole time. You should feel a tension in that mid-back the whole time. That means you're keeping your chest out and the back is nice and straight. For your head position, you want to have your eyes looking ahead of you about 6 to 10 feet. Unfortunately, now we all know what 6 feet away looks like, so kind of gives you the social distance measurement for where your vision should be in the squat. This will help keep your head and your neck in line. I see too many people looking down at their feet, which isn't good. Your feet should already be in the right position, kind of like in this diagram down here on the far right, pointed out 30 degrees or so, and they shouldn't move. So you shouldn't have to look at your feet. So look out ahead of you 6 to 10 feet. And then, so this is after you've already gotten the bar on your back, you're back out of the rack, you're ready to do the movement. So the first motion should be your hips go down and back. hips, in other words, your butt goes down first, and then your knees just naturally follow in the movement. So I see a lot of people trying to bend their knees first and then lower their butt down, but that actually ends up getting your weight too far over your toes. You want to keep your weight kind of down into your heels, back third of your foot area. So hips move first, and this is a hip-dominated movement. So you want to focus on those hips. And then as you're going down, make sure keep those knees out over your toes. You see how the toes are here in this diagram. You want to keep your knees in line with the toes so they should be pointed out. Never let your knees cave in towards each other. Never, never, never. So high risk of injury if that happens. Also, you're not activating your glutes, which is what we want to strengthen. One of the muscles we want to strengthen with this exercise. Keep those knees out the whole time. Even when you feel the tension, especially at the very bottom, and when you start to turn around and come up out of the squat, keep the knees out, push them out the whole time. And then at the very bottom, you want to make sure that your hips get below your knees. So that's what this left picture is about right here. So this is what the bottom of the squat should look like. Good flat back position, head looking out 6 to 10 feet, and then you have your knees here at this circle, and your hips at this circle. See how this one's just a bit lower? When you get the hip bones below where the knees are. That's how you know you've gone all the way down. I see too many people doing a half squat or a 3/4 squat, and they don't get those hips all the way down. If that's the case, take some weight off, back down the weight until you can get several reps in with your hips below your knees. If you're not sure how far you're going down, sometimes it's hard to tell, especially if you haven't squatted very much. Get someone else to watch you, to record you, or record yourself to see how far you're going down. Make sure you're getting the full range of motion out of it. Because it's not going to count. It's not going all the way down. Get the full range of motion, and that'll help give you better strength as well in the long term, even if you have to back down on the weight short term. Get the whole motion down. And then moving on to the deadlift. So again, like the squat, there's tons of different variations to the deadlift. We're going to cover the standard one, which is lifting from the floor, feet about shoulder width apart. And then this guy has an alternated grip. There's the sumo deadlift and the single leg deadlift and all. Same things apply. Same tips apply here. Same mistakes I see. So the first one is that the deadlift is not a squat. So I see a lot of people trying to get their butt and hips down really low, kind of like in this picture here, back on the squat. I see people starting in this position for a deadlift, which is totally not right. You want to start in this position here, where your hips are back, pushing the hips back instead of down. So your knees are going to be bent a little bit. Of course, so there is some lowering of the hips from a standing position, but it's about getting those hips back as far as you can. And then as you come up out of that position off the ground, you want to push those hips forward rather than down and up necessarily, even though the weight is still coming up and back down. Body movement is different. So this is what we call a hip hinge. That your body is hinging at the hip like this, not at the back like this, and not very much at the knees. So first thing, when you approach the bar on the floor, you want to keep the bar as close to the body as possible. That's for the whole movement. So that's what this line is about right here. You always want to, whenever you're doing any kind of lift, you always want to do the lift straight up against gravity. You never want to do it at an angle this way or that way. You always want to do perpendicular to the ground. When you're lifting the weight, the bar, you want to make sure you're lifting it straight up. And in order to do that, keep it next to your body the whole time. So you start it at your shins, keep it right next to your shins and up onto your thigh at the very top of the movement. So like this guy here, as close as possible. Even this guy's kind of coming out a little bit. You want to almost be straight to those shins and those thighs as you come up, so keep it as close to your body as possible. And that's really what you're thinking, if anything. But certainly with the deadlifting, you're doing more weight. Again, eyes looking ahead 6 to 10 feet, just like the squat. Pinch those shoulder blades together. So again, pinching the shoulder blades together will help you get your shoulders in the right position. It also helps keep your back nice and flat. All right, so if you pinch them together, so if I'm pinching my shoulder blades together, my shoulder is back in a stable position. It's nice and tight. If they're not pinched together, the weight on the deadlift is going to pull my arm down and kind of out the socket out of the good alignment. But we don't want the weight to be pulling yanking our shoulder out. We want to have the shoulder back in a stable position the whole time next to our torso, next to our rib cage. So once you have those, when you approach the bar is right at your shins. You're in the middle of the bar. Pinch those shoulder blades together. Your head is in the right position. You already grip the bar. A bunch of different grips. There's no one right way to do it, but I won't talk about that. You want to stick your chest out. Again, keep the back flat. That's the same for all these exercises, protecting the back. That back is nice and straight, just like in this picture here. Again, keeping the tension in the mid-back the whole time. And then as you're starting to lift, you want to push down against the floor, and the knees start first, and then the hips follow. So it's a hip-dominant exercise, but really to start the movement, the knees are starting to straighten, and then you are pushing the hips forward. So knees straightening, pushing the hips forward until you get to the top of the movement. Again, keeping that bar next to your body the whole time. I include this in here because I see a lot of people lifting the hips up first, and so it ends up, you have this guy here, which is in a good starting position with your torso kind of at an angle here. But if you lift the hips up first, you get to this kind of parallel position with the floor. Your torso, if my hand is the torso, your torso gets up like this, and your hips are too high up off the floor, and it makes it really hard to lift that weight. So if you push off from, using your thigh muscles and trying to straighten those knees first, and then start to push the hips forward, you will start to go more like this, and then end right in the standing position with the goal, right? So you don't want to go from here to here and then here. You'd rather go from here and nice and smooth straight up. Okay, it's like this guy here. Hips are nice and back, and then pushing off the floor. Right? He's not going from here to here. He's already in this position, and then he's just going straight up. So that is the deadlift. And if you're not doing deadlifts, you really should just like squats. Those are the two big lower body lifts. If you're going to do anything in the gym to build strength, you can only get in there 1 or 2 times a week. Those are exercises that you really should be focusing on no matter what your sport is. And I should say, coaches, if you're watching this and you need help, you're not really familiar with these lifts, but get an athletic trainer, get another coach who knows what they're doing, strength coach, contact your athletic trainer, and you can get me or someone else to come out to the school and help you guys with that if you want. But these are really great lifts for your kids to be doing, and for yourself to be doing, frankly. So last lift, this is probably the most common one I see most athletes doing in the gym, the lunge. Right, you step out with one foot and step out with the other. I do this exercise. I make all the student athletes do this exercise when we do our physicals, just to get some good hip and knee range of motion, checks balance, and all that kind of stuff. But I see kids doing this motion incorrectly 9 out of 10 times, whether it's at the physicals or in the weight room or out on the field for warm-ups. So it's a little bit deceiving. The name is a little bit deceiving because it's called a lunge, but you're really not supposed to lunge forward like this guy on the far left. It's not about getting that body weight out over your toes. It's really more about these two middle pictures. So it's actually more, the lunge is really supposed to be more of a straight up and down motion, like the squat, rather than a forward and up motion. So the head position is the same, eyes looking 6 to 10 feet ahead, as we've already talked about. I see a lot of athletes not stepping out far enough, and so you end up looking like this guy here on the right, where he's leaning out over his front foot. The shoulders are out over the front foot rather than having the shoulders and back and everything nice and in alignment with these two middle pictures. Okay, so you need to make sure you step out far enough so that when you do, you look like these guys. So you know you're in the right position if you have a 90-degree angle with your front leg and your back leg. And that back knee is straight underneath your hips, and your hips are straight underneath your torso and your head. So everything is in a nice, good alignment rather than leaning forward like this guy is. So make sure that when you are lunging, you, number one, you step out far enough. Number two, you keep the front heel on the ground. So you should look like this guy with the check mark here, this guy in the middle, but not this one on the left here. see this front heel coming up. Obviously, the back heel stays up the whole time in the squat in the lunge. But you're putting all your body weight on the toes if you do this. You need to keep your heel on the ground and put your body weight down through the heel from the toes. And then once you step out, you have your heel flat on the ground. You just drop your back knee straight to the ground. So if you try to go forward, you're going to look like this guy or this guy. On the far left and right on the pictures, you really want to look like these little guys here. So drop the back knee straight down to the ground, tap the ground, and then come straight back up. And then this is kind of the front picture here. It's a bit more of a clean she is. She didn't really step out far enough, but that's okay. So I really want to see the knees on this one. So looking at the lunge from the front view, you want to keep your knees out over your toes, just like on the squat. Make sure your knees aren't caving in towards each other, but they're staying out over your toes the whole time. And then chest up, back tight, just like all the other exercises. You should feel the tension in your mid back. Then you're going to, when you push up out of the bottom of the lunge, you're going to push up through the front heel. Don't go up on your toes. Don't push off the back as much. It's really just straight up through that front heel. This is a single leg exercise after all, so the focus is on that front leg. And then, of course, no wobbling and leaning. This is a kind of more of a dynamic core exercise. So what that means is you want to keep that torso nice and in line and straight. So just like back here, these guys are nice and in line. These middle pictures, everything is nice and stable. The same side to side or front to back or twisting, you want to keep everything nice and still. You want to lean over, fall over. If you do, that doesn't count. Start the rep again. That's it for the lunge. All right, everybody. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any ideas for future video topics you'd like to see, please let us know. Please fill out the survey. The link is found on the Bon Secours virtual training page, and this will help us to improve our videos and present topics that you might be interested in. So again, thank you for watching and have a great day.